Alright, Mr. Gumpo, it's Frankie here. This is my first recording for the nervous system jigsaw puzzle project. I decided to do the first option, which is the CNS and the PNS, so the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. Basically, everything here is the CNS, which is the brain and the spinal cord, and then everything here in blue, which is the peripheral nervous system, which is going to be sensory receptors, and it's going to be your motor neurons. And so basically the role of the CNS is to basically it's gonna process all information your body has. It's the control center for your body. It's gonna tell your motor neurons what to do, and it's gonna process the information from what your sensory receptors say happens outside your body. And the PNS is either going to pick up information with the sensory receptor neurons, or it's going to tell a muscle to move in some way with a motor neuron. So going to the CNS first. Basically, your spinal cord, which is here, which is along your vertebrae, and your brain comprise your or make up your CNS, the central nervous system. And your CNS controls all movement. It processes all information. It basically controls what you do and think. And so, any information that my finger picks up, so say I prick my finger with a pin, a sensory receptor sensing pain and sensing pressure in my fingertip are going to send a message to my brain or my spinal cord. They're going to send a message to my CNS, which is going to respond in some way after processing the information. Now, if it's a life or death thing and I'm being poked, of course if there's something that it's very easy to respond to, if I'm getting poked, of course my finger is going to move away. And that's a reflex arc, which is when the information only goes to the spine. It's not going to go to the brain because it doesn't have the time. It needs to act quickly, so it's just going to go to the spine, and it's just going to quickly move away. And for more complex muscle movement, it's going to go to the brain. So if I want to move my arm up or down, and then do something more complex, like close my fist or something like that, and I have more time to think about it, then I'm going to send the information to the brain. And then the brain is going to send the information that it wants some motor neuron to move a muscle. And that's a slower movement, but it's more coordinated and it's more complex. And that's basically what my CNS does. It tells my body what to do. It's the main control center for my body, and it processes any information that my PNS will give to it. Moving on to my PNS. In the PNS, there are two types of cells. There are motor nervous cells, or motor neurons, and then there's sensory receptors, or sensory neurons. And so basically, starting with the first one, the sensory receptor. The sensory receptor is going to pick up information or stimuli in your body. So if I poke my finger with the pin, the sensory receptor is the nervous cell in my body that's gonna pick up the information that I'm being poked, and then it's gonna tell that information to the brain or the spine, depending on what I'm gonna do with the information. Right? If it's a reflex arc, then it's just gonna go straight to the spine, and my hand's gonna move away. Basically, it's in charge of just picking up the information. And the motor cell, or the motor neuron, is in charge of moving a muscle. So the motor neuron is going to get a message from the brain saying, tell your muscle to contract. And the motor neuron is going to tell the muscle fibers, contract. And that's how you're going to move your arm, leg, any other muscle in your body. Right? Basically, the motor neuron it doesn't think for itself. It's just gonna be told by the central nervous system, this is what's gonna happen, you listen to me. And the sensory receptor is going to just give raw information to the CNS. It's not gonna process anything, it's just gonna give it straight to the CNS. Basically, without the CNS, these two cells would be useless because the sensory receptor wouldn't have anything to send the information to, and the motor neuron's not going to have anything telling it, oh, you should contract the muscle or you shouldn't. So therefore, you really need the CNS when you're for these two neurons to have a purpose. And this is a basic diagram of a neuron cell or a nervous cell. These are the dendrites right here, and these are in charge of picking up information or receiving information. They're going to have information coming from another neuron, and they're going to have to receive the information. Okay, and this is the cell, main part of the cell or the cell body. It's going to have all the organelles in it. So here you have the nucleus, you might have the mitochondria here, you might have the Golgi bodies here. All the organelles are going to be in this area of the cell. And then your axons are going to be right here. These are in charge of sending information to other cells. So if I get a message in my dendrites saying move the arm, then this is going to tell this to send the message on to the next neuron, and whatnot. And it's going to keep going until it hits the motor neuron that says, okay, we'll do it. Or if my other neuron is trying to send a message to the CNS, then it's going to say, okay, send this message to the CNS, and then the dendrites from this neuron are going to go straight up to the CNS, where the axons are going to send the information to the next neuron, and whatnot. And yeah, that's basically the main components of a neuron cell, or a nervous cell or a neuron. Thank you, Mr. Cole.